1981, Morton Grove, a community that dares to defy. A peaceful suburban environment out of nowhere makes a drastic decision to ban all handguns, which was meant to turn the community into something safer, but not everyone agreed with the act.
Live from Anaheim, it's time for the Channel 3 News with Ron Ezel.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome. Here's what's happening in Illinois. The Illinois Supreme Court today upheld the nation's first handgun ban, ruling that the law in Chicago suburb of Morton Grove doesn't violate the constitutional right to bear arms. Now, I would just want to add my little say. Now, I think that's okay. Anybody that wants to take guns away from anybody else has to be a fucking commie, okay? I'm sorry if my language is getting a little bit out of hand, but you just struck on a note that I'm getting a little fucking upset about, okay? Now, if anybody has anything to say, I welcome your comments. Okay? Thank you.
Some enjoyed the ban and thought it was great for the small town of Morton Grove. People such as Tom Ryan, an insurance man during this ban, whom strongly supported this ban, saying, and I quote, "I'm definitely in favor of banning the sale of handguns. I think it's right to make people more conscious of the dangers involved." But at the time, guns were liked by the majority of people. Like a person named Miss Evelyn Permer, someone who's had a tremendous impact on history, who believed the ban would cause no change.
Only handguns were banned. Other guns used for target shooting were still allowed if stored safely at a gun club. The ban wasn't intended to stop crime. It was to try to have a more peaceful and safe community and give the police more power to control the citizens.
The handgun ban was a triumph for anti-gun supporters because the Morton Grove became the first place in the U.S. to ban handguns. It had gained the pride that their village had started a new trend/controversy among the whole country. However, it was a tragedy for gun supporters because they lost their freedom to own guns.
The reason that this ban was enacted was because the people of Morton Grove wanted to keep their village more peaceful and crime-free. So the mayor and 6 village trustees discussed a vote on it, which results in the ban, and several angry letters from people everywhere. Matter of fact, so angry that some of the trustees got calls by people threatening them.
This hatred of the ban was so extreme it resulted in multiple lawsuits worldwide, such as Calamos versus Village of Morton Grove, which was filed 3 years after the ban in October. This lawsuit accused Morton Grove of messing with its Second and Ninth Amendment rights. This went all the way to court but failed to get rid of the ban.
The outcome of the lawsuits both resulted in the ban continuing on. The ban wasn't even repealed until the year 2008, which is 27 years after the ban was placed. If the lawsuit did take down the Morton Grove handgun ban, then the ban would have lasted only 3 years.
The Quilisi versus Morton Grove lawsuit took place a year after the ban. The lawsuit claimed that the ban not only went up against their 4th and 9th rights, but also that ban went against their 14th Amendment right.
Some thought the ban would never end. To some, the idea of the ban never ended seemed amazing. To others, they couldn't wait until the repeal. The anti-gun supporters eventually lost in 2008 when they took a vote to repeal the ban. The vote was 5-1 in favor of the ban going away. So, the gun supporters won.
The National Rifle Association had a campaign in many states to try and get legislation, but Illinois was one of the places it didn't work. Mayor Richard M. Daley and the Chicago City Council voted to ban the assault weapons in the year 1992. And because of the Morton Grove gun ban, The law came up by surprise. Nobody knew it was coming. There was a lot of controversy after the law was added. A lot of people were for it, and a lot weren't. During the Morton Grove handgun ban, Kennesaw, Georgia offered to trade guns with Morton Grove, and Morton Grove accepted. So then they sent some of their confiscated guns to Kennesaw, Georgia.
A lot of the gun supporters were satisfied with the repeal of the ban because the city was already peaceful before the ban, and they felt it had no impact. But the anti-gun supporters were irritated because the handgun ban failed right before their eyes. But instead becoming an argument point for gun supporters to talk about how they couldn't even keep the ban. It also became a gun supporter point for Kennesaw, Georgia, who had an act saying that everyone should have guns in their house, and how their crime rate went down while Morton Grove stayed the same with the Handgun Act.
It's the theory that guns are safe in the hands of a safe person. Almost done here, guys. Now that we have examined the effects of the law in the Tennessee community, let us examine the effects in Morton Grove. The complete ban of private ownership of guns did not cause crime to go down. Oops. In fact, violent crime increased 15% in the city the following year. Wait a minute. I thought if we removed all guns, then all of that stuff will, decrease as well. But this says violent crime. It doesn't say gun crime, it said violent crime. Knives, beatings, any other instrument other than a gun. It increased 15% in the following year. In the surrounding areas, crime increased only 3%. That's a 12% increase compared to other places where you could have a handgun. This increase rate stayed constant in the years after. Statistically speaking, the ban led to an increase in crime. Pundits can debate the reason for this until we all puke, but it makes sense to think that the ban makes criminals more active. Either way, in this case, the ban did not have the effect of reducing crime. While the effects of gun laws and gun restrictions vary based on the culture of each community and the backgrounds of the people within them, these two cities provide a good example of how gun laws impact communities. Would the law in Kennesaw work in other cities? Not necessarily. Does the data seem to support that it may help reduce crime? In this scenario, it does. The crime rate in Kennesaw dropped significantly after they loosely required every citizen to own a firearm and stayed at this low level for years, despite undergoing changes in population that typically led to increased crime. Morton Grove, on the other hand, has banned the ownership of handguns within their city and saw crime rates go up. Whether or not this change in crime is the result of these laws is debatable and should be debated, but the facts themselves have a strong voice. Okay, that was...
What you just watched was a man who lives in Kennesaw, Georgia, who gave a good view of the Morton Grove handgun ban and the effects of the handgun ban. So in conclusion, all of this whole handgun ban was a triumph for anti-gun supporters and a tragedy for gun supporters. But it didn't really do much. It didn't make much of a change. It caused a huge division. Thank you so much for watching.